because I still have his arm on the inside. Now it's the same idea from that ninja choke. I'm still gonna shoot my bicep over and across this way here, ratchet it up into place here, and then now I have that standing. What's up, guys? It's Eli here with Night Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm here with the one and only
Aaron Jannetti.
Yes, I think this is the first video we filmed together since you've had your black belt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're down here in Austin, Texas. We're at ATX Tactics. We were doing a KCC course like we do so many times a year.
So many.
Yeah, but this is not a knife video. This is actually a video that I want to do about standing chokes. And now, typically, whenever we think about standing chokes, we're talking about guillotines. But I've got so many other videos on guillotines. Me and Mike Cheney did a video on standing guillotines and ground guillotines and all over the place. So go look at other videos I have on guillotines from everywhere. That's not what this is about. This is about other chokes that are not necessarily guillotines or guillotine adjacent, but standing chokes that may actually work or serve other purposes. Let's go ahead and kick it off like this. I think that one of the ones that people get this name confused a lot. So you'll see different people call the different things a ninja choke. This to me is what a ninja choke actually is. Easiest way for me to think about it is like a no-arm Darce. Essentially the setup for it is I'm off to the side, I'm coming under here like this. So my orientation is like my center line is facing him, his center line is facing 90 degrees the other way. I'm coming in, so the reverse orientation of like a rear naked choke, and then I'm coming across tricep this way, and I'm gonna set this ninja choke up this direction here like this. So where does this come from? Good question. A lot of times it can come off like if he's starting on a single leg, right? But I get my arm inside here like this, which is not a bad idea. I'm keeping his head in front and I'm trying to like raise his posture up so he's out of a good position to finish the single leg. And from this position here, rather than just going through like a wizard and trying to kick my leg free while he's trying to finish this and I'm maintaining my balance on this side, that's whenever I can get my arm in between us, and then that's whenever I can start setting this up. So I'm gonna shoot, again, my tricep across the back here like this. A good way whenever we're going in, and this applies to Darce chokes as well, is whenever I'm going to go in for this, rather than going in with my thumb in the upward orientation, that's how it's going to finish, but I'm going to go in with it down. So I want to put my bicep actually across this like occipital ridge of his neck right there. So I'm going to reach way over, I'm going to try to grab my tricep, in fact, and then I'm going to rotate. That rotation actually tightens the choke a whole lot, and then from right there, even at that point, a lot of times, even if he finishes a single leg and we hit the ground, then I might still finish that or use that single leg as now a butterfly hook and kind of kick him over. But the main thing is that off of his single leg attempt, that's a really good time for me to get that arm inside here, try to get his head off center, shoot over the top. Again, bicep down, tricep up, grab my tricep, raise this to his spine, and then squeeze in like that. Maybe during that process, if nothing else, I can use it to try to free my leg so he doesn't try to finish that single leg takedown. You said you kind of had a different little variation.
Yeah.
Little T-Rex arms.
I got a little T-Rex arms. I don't know if you guys know this. But let's say, again, like Eli's posting, he's going into it. So maybe I didn't get my arm to the inside right out of the gate, right? One of the first things generally I think about with single legs, I want to separate his head out. So with my hand out this way, I can enter the same exact way, but because I have short arms, for me sometimes, like especially against bulkier individuals, getting my arm all the way across the head can be pretty problematic. So I might go to something like an S grip, or I may even go to some variation of a 3-finger grip where I'm putting that thumb into there and then I'm closing that space off in that direction there, which can be super tight. But that allows me, again, instead of having to get my shorter arm all the way across the head to come over to the top side position, I can enter my arm in, and now again, I can enter in some type of an S grip to be able to close that space off, or a 3-finger grip to close that space off. And for me, in this position, because my hand's already kind of posted out this way, I'm really just feeding my arm straight to my hand on the other side. Like my hand is already, my left arm in this case, is already in the position. I can punch that through, and now I can turn the corner, and I can go ahead and make that close there. So again, little guy problems, but a super tight choke, and I actually learned that grip and that orientation the very first time I met you.
Hey.
Hey-o.
Yeah,
Long time ago.
3-finger grip, that's an unsung hero of the grip game, right? So just quick note about grips because it's helpful. S grip, very powerful. It's a very strong grip here because I'm activated like lat, chest, shoulders, back, everything is activated in this. Not as strong as a gable grip, but S grip does allow me more flexion of my wrists. Gable grip is probably the strongest of all the grips, or butterfly grip as a extension of that. What else? The 3-finger grip like Aaron was talking about. This is an interesting grip. So I'm essentially putting my thumb between my index and forefinger like that. And then what this allows you to do, it gives you a nice blend and mixture. It gives you wrist flexion, but it also gives you a little bit more strength than the S grip a lot of the time. So yeah, that's an interesting little grip. There's a preacher grip. This one's almost worthless. There's almost no time to use a preacher grip. Most of the time people use this grip, it's because they meant to do a gable and they're inexperienced or they don't know different. So, but yeah, so a little side note about the grips and everything. I mentioned before that the ninja choke, in my estimation of it, is similar to like a no arm Darce. Basically, it's just on his neck. I don't have the arm inside, so it's not exactly a Darce choke. So that's where I would say the ninja choke comes from. But the Darce choke can be finished from standing. A good way to finish the standing Darce choke is if I get in on an arm drag. So if I get in on an arm drag, then sometimes rather than just making a clearance into a takedown or whatever, sometimes we'll wind up on almost like an outside 2-on-1 from this arm drag kind of position. And I found myself kind of hanging here sometimes, and you don't want to stay put here too long because he's going to start countering and doing all kinds of other stuff. Yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. That's going to be a bad day for me. So if I get here and I'm like, okay, I don't have an immediate access to a takedown necessarily, but I do have weight on him and I am breaking his posture. Instead of holding here by the bicep, what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to shoot all the way across and grab the back of his neck. From that position here, I'm going to come in and double that up. And so I'm grabbing both hands, one on the back of his neck, one on his head over here this way. So now, because I still have his arm on the inside, now it's the same idea from that ninja choke. I'm still going to shoot my bicep over and across this way here, ratchet it up into place here, and then now I have that standing Darce finish potentially right there. And again, like maybe it's one of those things that even if I don't finish it, I still have his head and his arm bunched up and it can start working into other things that I would have finished with the arm drag initially, but it buys me a little more time and it also changes his defensive priorities. And that's a big thing that we're looking to do a lot of the time. If I don't feel like maybe I'm not the fastest and most athletic, my timing isn't the most precise, I can cheat a lot of those things by creating new angles and new obstacles for him to try to stop and have to figure out. So while he's doing that, it buys me a little bit more time to transition on to the next thing. And if I play my cards right, I'm really fortunate whenever I get into this position, I might even finish the choke. So that would be very helpful too. So the standing Darce and the standing ninja choke are very closely related, maybe a little different entries into how we would look to set those up. But I think that right off of an arm drag here, so I'm looking to get a hold of down by the base of the hand. I like to grab the hand by the base of the knuckles because what that does on this arm drag particularly is that allows that rotation. Now his elbow's pointing at me. That's going to give me good access to come inside here like this. I'm going to slide my shoulder in and then I'm hanging in here on the arm, or maybe even going straight to the neck if his neck is already available. And then at that point here, I like to reinforce and secure this way. It's going to be difficult for him to take me down while we're in this orientation. Then I can shoot across and then get into that standing Darce choke. So that's another really good standing choke that's kind of overlooked a lot of the time. Standing head and arm choke is another really cool one, and I'll explain why. Basically, let's talk about the standard application of it, similar to how we would do it on the ground, like if I were in a top position or even from bottom guard. You can hit it from a lot of different places. Essentially, what I'm looking to do is get his arm and his head bundled up here like this, and then as I get around, I want to get nice and deep like this. Aaron might show you a short arm variation, but whenever we get into this position here, essentially what I'm looking to do, sometimes we'll have to secure it initially with a gable grip, but then if I really want to get extra tight on this here, then I'm going to shoot my arm past, ratchet this up, similar to how we would do other types of head and arm chokes. So whenever we shoot past like this hand can go to the top of his head sometimes. Depending on what space is involved, I might even be able to fit the secondary hand between here like this to fill even more space. But a good way that we can look to try to get into this position sometimes is through a duck under or a throw by. Something I like to do off of a throw by here like this, because I'm not great with duck unders, is from this position, if we're in like a collar tie situation, my hand is going to go from the bicep and it's going to go in on his throat. I'm trying to like choke him with this one hand like this, which isn't a real thing, but it at least gives me, it gets me a reaction off of him. And then what that will allow me to do sometimes is to slide this hand off of his neck and use this to throw his arm by. Once I throw his arm by like that, then I've got his head and his arm gathered up in my one arm like this. Now, from this position here, I can look to maybe move to his back, look for him for foot sweeps, takedowns, things like that. But if my timing was off sometimes, he'll start posturing back up. As he starts to posture back up, that's when I want to take that opportunity to find this head and arm connection like this. And again, like I was saying, I might want to go gable grip first and then look to get the full expression of that kind of rear naked choke style grip for that full head and arm. Any tips for the short arm person?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you look at the same exact setup that Eli's talking about, like whether I'm, again, like pushing and then I do my throw by this direction, or I'm short, so I'm really good at duck unders. So it's a little different for me. But if you notice, like when Eli made that position, his forearm, or like the lower part of his wrist, was in connection here, right? And so he was talking about, hey, if they turn to orient, that's when maybe I'm going to punch deeper. Well, again, short person problems. Maybe I can't get, like, me getting to the position I want to is going to be pretty difficult. So I'm actually, in most cases, if I'm going to do anything with this, I'm looking for this orientation. I actually want my wrist, this like notch right here at the bottom of my thumb, to be right across the vessel on the outside of the neck into this position. And then I can go in and I can gain my gable grip most likely, maybe again into a butterfly a little tighter. And now what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to pull my elbows in like I'm trying to clap them together across his body, and I'm going to squeeze everything in nice and tight across. And because I have my shoulder just outside of his shoulder, that elevation is what's going to be pushing his shoulder into the blood vessel on that side, and then obviously on this side I go to pull. Now, arguably, it's a little neck cranky, but it is also a choke. And again, it doesn't require me to make a lot of adjustments afterwards. And I'm a bit lazy for as athletic as I am, so I kind of like those things. So for me, if I am able to kind of do that and I poke and go and I end up right into this position, I'm just going to go ahead and cinch all of this super tight together. And again, in the very least, like what you're talking about, you get a response out of them, right? So I might not get the tap, it might not be an official choke, but you will get them to panic and open up something else, and it usually leads itself to some good takedowns too.
Is the rear choke, right? So in the rear choke, typically I'm probably not going to necessarily look for a full-on rear naked choke style grip. It's probably going to be more of a short choke. The thing that I want to think about though when I'm doing this, if I'm behind Aaron like this, as this one comes around, the biggest mistake you can make on this, in my opinion, if you were like blessed enough to get here all the way behind him and you have access to get this choke, is to go toward him this way and start reaching around, and then I'm breaking my posture, I'm making myself light, and I'm actually building myself over him. So for him to throw me over his shoulder or something, or even turn and spin and drop me, is going to be a lot higher percentage. So it's very important that if I am fortunate enough to get all the way behind this guy, and I do feel like I can get access to this choke like this, something very important for me to do is to start breaking his posture. And a good way for me to break his posture is, as this one is coming around, I can use my hand here to pop the small of his back. What I'm trying to do is get his hips out in front of his shoulders. As long as he keeps his shoulders under his hips, or his hips rather under his shoulders, he's going to have the ability to base and get really strong posture to throw me forward. So what I want to try to do is, if I get around here, is pop his lower back out like that. So now once his hips are forward, that also gives me easier access to be able to get my arm deeper across his neck. And then I'm going to come in for this short choke. The short choke is going to be finished with the arm that's going across his neck like this, palm down. Second hand is going to come in palm up. They're going to connect. And I'm trying to put my forearm here as deep behind his shoulder blades in line with his spine as possible. Finally using my head to press in and then collapsing all that space here like this for that finish. This one, you can see it, again, from self-defense perspective, it's not a bad idea. I could hit this off of an arm drag or a modified like twisting kind of movement. Simple little self-defense application for this one is if we're here like this and I'm trying to de-escalate or whatever the case is, and I feel like I need to get behind this guy for whatever reason, is that I can actually push one shoulder, pull one shoulder. So if I go here, boom, this way, I've changed the angle sufficiently enough to where now I have a clear sight picture of his back. And so if I want to take advantage of that back exposure, as I'm going to step around, I'm gonna pop his lower back out, get that bend in his spine that I need, and then enter into that short choke from behind. Again, maybe you can do this off of throw-bys, maybe do this off of arm drags, maybe do this off of this shoulder push that I'm showing here. But either way, knowing how to properly perform that is going to be beneficial for a variety of reasons. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so a couple of things, like two things, again, following along the same exact lines of what Eli was talking about. Like one, like when I go to make this pop, oftentimes people, and again, pop in the back if I'm already square this way, definitely works and is effective. But one thing that I learned a long time ago, actually training when I was out in Israel, was actually using the back of the arm because I'm already passing, right? So if I go push, pull this direction, my hand tends to be over here. Instead of losing position coming way out here to go to the back, as I go to turn, I can push the back with the back of my arm, and that allows me to not give up any of that space and to secure that space a little bit better, right? So that was a little trick, especially if you're coming from the front, coming around the outside. And I've actually gotten close to this position standing in no gi, right? So as I go to make that pass, it's really about like anything I'm doing, this arm is making that post, right? Now, this is pretty messed up, but I am kind of the self-defense guy. But one of the things that, in a way that you can actually set this up, and I've had success doing this, right? Let's say I get on Eli's back, and we're fighting into here, and I'm looking to like push or drag. Well, one of the things that can often happen, like Eli might put the brakes on and kind of settle his weight back, right? And so if I'm kind of driving, posting, looking for certain things, he's hand fighting. Well, if he lowers his center of gravity this direction, I can come up and make that same exact execution, that same exact spot to go into it. So I've, in the very least, used this to drag people down to the ground if I was unable to kind of get them to the floor. Just based off that, you're driving into them and they want to go into that post and do this, and they lower their center of gravity, pull their head straight back. It can be super to around with without getting into some real weird stuff.
Yeah, the last thing I think about with that one too, because we are kind of flirting with that self-defense concept too. This one is actually, I think, one of the best applications you can possibly have for that pop into that short choke or the rear naked choke is third-party intervention.
Oh,
like
yeah,
if
100%.
I'm having to intervene between two people, he's over here beating somebody up and I need to help to protect this person, then something that we can look to do off of that is as I'm coming in here, whether you're doing like the forearm brace like Aaron was saying, or we're coming in and palm striking the back here to get him bent back, well, immediately it kind of takes him out of position to be able to like continue whatever he was doing to this person over here, and then now I can come in and hit that short choke, possibly at least separate, control, subdue, maybe even incapacitate this person if I need to, then and separate that out for third-party protection, because third-party protection is an element of self-defense that doesn't get talked about a whole lot.
Well, and it might not even be third-party protection. You just might be in one of those like 5 versus 5 Russian MMA fights, and
yeah, exactly.
it populates the same way.
Right. And so those are some really interesting kind of unconventional types of standing chokes that aren't just guillotines all the time. So if you do want to see the guillotines, go check out my other videos like I mentioned before. Also, make sure that you go and you follow this guy, Aaron Jannetti, on all the socials. Go follow Knife Control Concepts. Again, that's what we're doing here in town in Austin, Texas. We're here at ATX Tactics this weekend for our third time here. And so if you're ever in the Austin, Texas area and you want a really good place to train, ATX Tactics is the place to come. So yeah, make sure you come and follow us on all the different socials, and I appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things you're supposed to do on YouTube. Thank you guys very much.